Before you open that microwave tonight, stop, because I'm about to show you something that changed how I think about my own kitchen, and I genuinely wish someone had told me this years ago. There are 5 very ordinary foods sitting in most refrigerators right now, foods people reheat every single week without a second thought that your digestive system, and specifically your pancreas, responds to very differently the second time around. I'm not talking about mystery meat or gas station sushi. I'm talking about rice, spinach, roasted potatoes, chicken, and leftover fried food. Things considered healthy, things you cook because you're being responsible. Stay with me for the next few minutes because I'm going to walk you through exactly what changes inside these foods when heat touches them a second time, and what that means for the organ in your body that almost never gives you a warning signal when something is going wrong. My name is Lina. I've spent years researching practical health habits for people over 50, not the trendy stuff, not the supplements with celebrity endorsements, the boring, unglamorous, really important stuff nobody clicks on but everybody needs to know. And this topic, it took me completely by surprise when I first started digging into it, because these aren't fringe concerns. The chemistry behind what happens to certain foods when reheated is well documented. It's been studied, and yet somehow it never makes it onto the lists of healthy habits we all see shared every day. So let's fix that. 5 foods, 5 changes you can make in your kitchen this week. Let's go. Number 1. Leftover fried food. This one is the sneakiest because the instinct to re-crisp leftovers in fresh oil feels like the responsible, tasty thing to do. Golden fries from last night, that piece of fried chicken wrapped in foil, the spring rolls in the back of the fridge. Here's the problem. The oils most people cook with, sunflower, corn, soybean, are what scientists call unstable under repeated heat. When you fry something the first time, those oils are already working hard. When you add more heat, either by microwaving in the oil or refrying in fresh oil, those oil molecules break down further and form compounds called aldehydes. Two of the most studied ones are 4-hydroxynonenal and malondialdehyde. What do those do? Think of them as cell-level irritants. Research published in multiple nutrition journals links repeated dietary aldehyde exposure to inflammatory changes in the body's tissues, including the digestive tract and surrounding organs. The fix is actually very simple. Reheat fried food in a dry oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or in an air fryer. Dry heat restores the texture and crunch without creating new chemical damage, and treat frying oil as single use. Cook it today, discard it today. Done. Number 2, and this one is the one that genuinely surprised me the most: cooked leafy greens. Spinach, kale, chard, arugula. These are the exact foods every nutritionist in the world tells you to eat more of. And they're right. Fresh or first cooked, these are powerhouses. Here's what changes. Leafy greens naturally contain nitrates, completely harmless in their fresh state. But once cooked and stored in the fridge, the bacteria that develop in the food begin converting those nitrates into nitrites. Then, when you apply heat a second time, those nitrites can combine with proteins in the food to form compounds called nitrosamines, which the International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies as probable carcinogens. This isn't a maybe it could be bad situation. It's documented chemistry, and it's completely avoidable. The fix? Cook only the greens you're going to eat at that meal. If you have leftover sautéed spinach or kale, eat it cold the next day. Toss it into a grain bowl, a wrap, or a salad. Every nutrient is still there. Zero nitrosamine risk. It's genuinely one of the easiest habit changes on this entire list. Number 3. This one affects almost every household on the planet: rice. Cooking a big batch and reheating it throughout the week seems perfectly reasonable, smart even. But there's a bacterium called Bacillus cereus that lives in raw rice, and it is built to survive in ways that most bacteria aren't. Cooking kills the active bacteria, but the spores, basically the survival shells that Bacillus cereus wraps itself in, they survive boiling water. They sit dormant in your cooked rice while it cools down and reaches room temperature, which is exactly the temperature where they wake up and start multiplying. While multiplying, they produce a toxin, and here's the part that really matters. That toxin is heat stable, meaning when you reheat the rice the next day, your microwave kills the live bacteria, but the toxin is already in the food and it survives the reheating entirely. Repeated exposure to that toxin, even at low levels, creates ongoing irritation in the gut. And through what researchers call the gut-pancreas axis, the signaling pathways shared between your digestive tract and your pancreas, that inflammation doesn't stay local. The fix is simple and takes almost no extra effort. Cool cooked rice within 1 hour of cooking. Spread it on a flat tray so it cools quickly and evenly. Refrigerate it right away. Eat it within 24 hours. Reheat it once, make sure it's fully steaming, and finish it completely. Don't put reheated rice back in the fridge for another round. 1 hour, flat tray, 24 hours. That's it. Number 4, chicken. Specifically microwaved chicken. Roasted chicken, poached chicken, grilled chicken, all fine when they're first cooked, but a microwave doesn't heat food the way an oven does. It excites water molecules to generate heat, and because different parts of the same piece of chicken have different water content, densities, and fat distribution, you end up with what food scientists call cold spots. Hot on the outside, warm in some sections, and in other sections, still sitting at a temperature where bacteria not only survive, but actively multiply. The 2 bacteria that make this specifically risky with chicken are Salmonella and Campylobacter, both common in poultry. Initial cooking at the right temperature kills them, but if there's any recontamination after cooking, which happens easily on hands, cutting boards, and utensils, and those bacteria land on chicken that then gets reheated unevenly in a microwave, those cold spots become incubators. The fix: for reheating chicken, use the oven whenever you can. 350 degrees Fahrenheit, covered tightly with foil, 15 to 20 minutes. Moist, trapped heat reaches every part evenly, no cold spots. If you're genuinely in a hurry with the microwave, cut the chicken into small, uniform pieces, use medium power, stop it halfway to stir or rearrange, then let it rest covered for 2 full minutes. The resting time matters. It allows the heat to redistribute and finish the job. And number 5. This one is my favorite to talk about because the potato is one of the most underestimated foods in the kitchen, and reheating it incorrectly is a double mistake. When a potato is cooked and then cooled completely in the fridge, something genuinely beneficial happens. Part of its starch converts into what nutritionists call resistant starch. Resistant starch is slower to digest, gentler on your blood sugar, and it actually feeds the healthy bacteria in your gut. This is a good thing. The moment you apply high heat again, and especially if you're refrying, 2 problems happen simultaneously. First, the resistant starch converts back into regular, rapidly digested starch. The blood sugar benefit is gone. Your pancreas has to work harder to manage that glucose spike than it would have if you'd eaten the potato cold. Second, and this applies specifically to high-heat reheating of starchy foods, a compound called acrylamide forms. Acrylamide develops when starchy foods are exposed to temperatures above roughly 250 degrees Fahrenheit. When a potato has already been cooked once, refrigerated, and then reheated at high heat, the chemical conditions actually favor more acrylamide formation than during the original cooking. Multiple health agencies have flagged it as a compound worth minimizing in the diet. The fix here is one of the tastiest on this list. Eat cooked potatoes cold. Cold potato salad with olive oil, apple cider vinegar, a little Dijon mustard, and fresh herbs is genuinely delicious. You preserve all the resistant starch benefits and eliminate additional acrylamide. If you need them warm, steam them or use the lowest heat that simply takes the chill off. Warm, not hot. and never refry an already cooked potato. I want to share something with you. A woman I know, I'll call her Margaret, had been doing what she considered responsible, careful cooking for 40 years. Big Sunday batches, rice, chicken, roasted potatoes, sautéed greens, reheated throughout the week. She was proud of it. She thought she was being smart. She started noticing a dull heaviness after meals, low energy around lunchtime. She dismissed it as just getting older. When she started paying attention to how she was preparing and reheating food and made just a handful of the changes I've described today, those symptoms faded. Not instantly, over a few months. Her inflammation markers improved. Her energy came back. The thing she told me that I haven't forgotten is, I spent 40 years feeding everyone else. Nobody ever taught me the details of how to feed myself properly. That's why I made this video. So here's exactly what to do after watching this. 6 changes, your kitchen, starting tonight. 1. Reheat fried food in the oven or air fryer, never in oil. Frying oil is single use. 2. Eat leftover cooked greens cold. Mix into salads, grain bowls, or wraps. No second heat cycle. 3. Cool rice within 1 hour. Flat tray, fridge immediately, eat it within 24 hours, reheated once, and finish it completely. 4. Reheat chicken in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, covered with foil, 15 to 20 minutes. Moist, trapped heat reaches every part evenly, no cold spots. If you're genuinely in a hurry with the microwave, cut the chicken into small, uniform pieces, use medium power, stop it halfway to stir or rearrange, then let it rest covered for 2 full minutes. The resting time matters. It allows the heat to redistribute and finish the job. And 6, and this is the most powerful one, cook for today, not for the week. Smaller portions, fewer reheating cycles. This single shift eliminates most of the risk we talked about today. None of this is complicated. None of it is expensive. It's just information, the kind that should have been on the back of every cookbook ever printed. If this was useful, share it with one person who reheats leftovers every week. That one share genuinely matters. I'm Lina. I'll see you in the next one.